It's 2009, 3 a.m. I'm in my pajamas, eating cold pizza, screaming at my TV because some trash-talking kid just destroyed me in Halo again. Now, before you go and call me a loser, what if I told you that I wasn't wasting my time back then? No. I was basically getting a PhD in strategic thinking. I'm serious. Annie Duke said, what makes a great decision is not that it has a great outcome. A great decision is a result of a good process. And while most of us don't have any process, decisions just happen to us, and then we rationalize them to ourselves afterwards. This was me for years. Every major choice, college, career, starting a company at age 26, all gut instinct and crossed fingers. And when things went wrong, which was constantly, I'd wonder why I seemed to be making the same mistakes over and over. That's when I came across the idea of mental models, which are essentially just frameworks for thinking more systematically. And to my surprise, I'd not only find them in business books or ancient philosophy, instead, they'd sometimes pop out in the unlikeliest of places. For example, my favorite video game series about a 7-foot-tall super soldier fighting aliens in space. Yeah, because here's the thing, Halo is pure strategic thinking. It has high-pressure situations, split-second decisions, prediction, adaptation. Think chess, but at 100 miles an hour with rocket launchers and energy swords. So today, I'm breaking down 7 mental models I learned from playing Halo that'll make you a more strategic thinker in life and work. Let's get into it. So our first framework is called Control the Power Positions. This is perhaps the most fundamental rule of high-level Halo. At the start of a game, 2 teams spawn on opposite sides of the map, and everything's even. Same weapons, same abilities, same chance to win. But on any Halo map, there are specific locations that, when you lock them down, give you massive advantages. A tower with perfect sightlines and cover. The corner where rocket launcher spawns. Central choke points that determine the flow of the map. When your team holds the power positions, you can see the enemy's attacks coming. You can control their movement options and dictate when and where gunfights happen. With this model, the question to ask yourself is, where are the power positions in my situation, and what do I need to do to hold them down? Let's look at 2 real-world examples. Google understood this perfectly in the early 2000s search engine wars. Their competitors like Yahoo and others were trying to fine-tune their algorithms and curate the search results by hand, which, in hindsight, seems like an obvious mistake with all the weird shit people search for. Meanwhile, Google saw the real power position, user data. They designed their algorithms in a way that it could capture and learn from every single search query automatically. Every time someone searched and clicked on a result, Google's algorithm got a tiny bit smarter about what people were actually looking for. The more people used Google, the better it got, which attracted even more users, which generated even more data, until it was basically impossible for anyone else to catch up. And how about in your personal life? Let's say you want to be more productive and focused throughout your day. You could try to do this in 100 different ways. Delete social media apps, go to the library, try time blocking, but you can't do everything. So what's the right move? Again, the strategic approach is to control the power position. For example, your morning routine. Control the first 15 or 30 minutes after waking up, and you can often steer how the entire rest of the day unfolds. And I actually recently unpacked this idea and how you can use those precious first minutes as efficiently as possible in another video. Link is in the description. But before you check that out, let's move on to the second mental model. It's called Spot the Tipping Points. Picture this, you're down 25 to 40 in a ranked match. The enemy team has snipe rockets and they're spawn trapping you. Teammates are raging in voice chat. Game's basically over, right? Wrong. Because in Halo, sometimes all it takes is one perfectly timed play to flip the whole match. Maybe a push at just the right moment lets you grab active camo, and now you can walk down straight across the center of the map because you're invisible. You do a sneak attack on your sniper, and boom! Just like that, in 30 seconds, you've reset the momentum of the entire game. That's what you have to look out for. The singular moves that are so powerful, they don't just improve your position incrementally, they unlock completely new strategic possibilities. This is exactly what Netflix did in their early days. At the time, they were a DVD by mail rental business, but they could see the tidal wave coming with broadband internet getting faster and cheaper. So they made a pivotal decision that changed the industry forever. They launched a streaming service and flipped what it meant to rent a movie on its head. Suddenly you could watch whatever you wanted instantly. That single strategic move didn't just improve Netflix's position in the existing market. It created an entirely new one where they got to set the rules. And it can apply to your personal life too. For example, when I was running my startup a couple of years back, initially I was doing it from my hometown in the middle of nowhere. trying to flirt VCs into a long-distance relationship. But at some point, I realized I needed to make a strategic switch. I packed up everything and moved to Munich, one of Europe's biggest startup hubs. And suddenly, I could meet potential investors face-to-face over a coffee instead of trying to pitch them over Zoom. I could attend startup events and actually shake hands with other founders. I could build real relationships instead of just digital ones. That single decision to move unlocked completely new possibilities that simply didn't exist when I was stuck back at home. So ask yourself, what are the tipping points in your life? Unfortunately though, as powerful as it is, this mental model alone couldn't save my startup because I still had to learn this next lesson. Predict, don't react. Sadly, I'm not a hotshot with $1 million exit under my belt. No, my startup crashed and burned because I was always 1 or 2 steps behind. See, in Halo, power weapons spawn on timers and objectives shift at known intervals. For example, the rocket launcher respawns every 180 seconds. The sniper, 150 seconds. Active camo, 120 seconds. Now the average player, they stumble over the weapons by accident and go, oh cool, rockets. But watch a pro play and it's completely different. At 2:45, they're already moving to rocket spawn. At 2:55, they're in position. And at 3 sharp, boom, they grab it immediately. They're playing 30 seconds in the future. It's Wayne Gretzky's famous quote in action. I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. And that's where I messed up. When we launched, food tech was the hot thing. Billions in VC money pouring into the space. Massive players emerging overnight. We saw all this activity and thought, perfect timing. But we were reading yesterday's news. While we were building our asset-heavy model, the market was already shifting beneath our feet. By the time we were ready to go, major food tech startups were already going bankrupt. And suddenly, every investor conversation went from, tell me more, to, sorry, we're shifting to AI. And the funny thing is that we actually predicted this whole trend before it happened. It was literally in our pitch deck, but we didn't go all the way. We didn't anticipate how it would affect our position. Likewise, most people buy stocks after they've already gone up 50%. They see green arrows and follow the herd. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett invests in companies when they're undervalued but have strong fundamentals. So he's positioning himself for their eventual success before it's obvious to everyone else. The strategic question is, based on what I can see now, where is this naturally headed and how can I get there first? Because whether it's grabbing rockets in Halo or building the next big thing, the future belongs to those who see it coming. Alright, mental model number 4 is called no bad strategies, only bad matchups. A mistake beginners sometimes tend to make is that they become too focused on the few power weapons, thinking in terms of better and worse guns. The rocket launcher seems obviously powerful, but the thing is, in an open field with long sightlines, you'll still lose against someone with a sniper. The plasma pistol looks like an absolute pea shooter, completely useless, until you combine it with a battle rifle for an instant kill combo. Every tool, every strategy has its place. The question isn't what's the best approach, but what's the right approach for this situation. This mental model is kind of meta because it highlights that every strategy, every approach, every piece of advice you've ever gotten, including what I'm telling you right now, has its limits. Context is everything. Take dieting, for example. Some people swear by intermittent fasting, others by low carb, others by simply tracking their calories. The truth is, they all work for the right person in the right circumstances. If you constantly have to travel for work, flexibility matters more than macronutrient ratios. If you stress eat, addressing emotional triggers will be more important than which specific diet type you go for. Well, let's look at Elon Musk with his first principles thinking approach. Genius at Tesla and SpaceX, but when he tried applying the same principles to his efforts at government efficiency at Doge, mixed results, to put it lightly. Political bureaucracy just moves at a different pace than private industry, it turns out. The point isn't whether Musk's methods are good or bad, it's that they're incredibly effective in some contexts and less so in others. Maslow famously said, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Don't make that mistake. The strategic thinker carries multiple tools and chooses the right one for the job. Ask, what does this specific situation actually require, and do I have the right approach for it? Now let's move on to the next framework. Staying alive wins the game. In Halo, there's one type of player everyone hates. It's not the trash talkers, not the team killers, not even the guys blasting music through their mics, although I really do hate them a lot. No, it's the player who always seems to escape somehow. Just when you got them cornered, shields down, one shot from death, they duck behind cover, throw a grenade at your feet, and vanish. You chase them around the corner, and wham, they've recharged, and now you're the one respawning. These players are infuriating to go up against, but they're absolutely priceless for the team because they understand something most people don't. Your first job isn't to get kills, it's to not die. You can't capture objectives or hold down a power position if you're dead. You can't pick off other players if you're waiting to respawn. In investing, Warren Buffett's first rule is don't lose money, because you can't compound returns if you keep wiping out your bank account. Protecting your downside creates the foundation for long-term success. What kills most early-stage companies isn't having a bad product. They all suck in the beginning. It's running out of cash. The startups that survive long enough to iterate, pivot, and find product market fit, they win. It's a battle against time. Surviving creates compound advantages. You learn from mistakes because you're still around to make them. You build reputation and relationships over time. There when opportunities finally show up. Don't look for get-rich-quick schemes. Ask yourself, what could hold me back from sticking with it for the next 3, 5, or 10 years? If you set yourself up to play a long game, that will eventually put you in the position to win. Alright, this next mental model is called Use the Arena, and it comes from a different side of Halo entirely. Anyone who's played the campaign on Legendary knows there's moments where you've died 47 times at the same checkpoint and you just want to throw your controller at the TV. You're starting to think maybe you just suck. And well, yeah, probably, but maybe your approach also sucks. You need to get out of tunnel vision. That turret that's been pinning you down, you can shoot at the fusion cores next to it and create a chain reaction. That Banshee flying overhead, you don't have to fight it. You can hijack it and skip the entire encounter. Your environment contains all these resources and opportunities if you can just recognize them. The game is designed for this sort of stuff. Every encounter is like a puzzle with endless different solutions. It's the same in real life. We're constantly trying to force our way through problems when there might be a better way. Want to use your phone less? Leave it in another room. Want to eat healthier? Remove junk food from your house. It doesn't always have to be trying harder. You can also just make the game easier. The story of how Spotify took on music piracy is a perfect example of this. They didn't try to guilt people about stealing music. They didn't sue teenagers like the record labels. Instead, they set one obsessive goal. Streaming music needed to be just stupidly convenient. No waiting, no buffering, just instant music. The CEO, Daniel Ek, was fanatical about this, and he hyperfixated on this idea he called the 200 millisecond rule. That is, users should hear a song within 200 milliseconds of hidden play, which was just an insane idea at the time. The engineering team went absolutely nuts to hit this target. Preloading predicted songs, peer-to-peer networks, aggressive caching. They came up with so many creative solutions, and it worked. Think about that. They beat free by just being faster. They didn't win the argument about why piracy was wrong. They won by making piracy feel like unnecessary work. The key insight: your environment is part of the game. Most people try to overpower their circumstances, but strategic thinkers shape their circumstances to support their goals. Ask yourself, how can I use the environment to make success more likely? And I actually talked about this idea in depth in a recent video about a $1 item that skyrocketed my focus to a completely new level. Link is in the description. But before we check that out, let's move on to our final mental model, which is also probably a big reason why Halo is my favorite video game series of all time. It's called Choose Your Game Mode. You know what my best Halo memories are? Not hidden max rank, not my highest KD game, although that was pretty freaking sweet. No, it's me with 3 friends at 2 a.m. crying with laughter while we're playing around a trash compactor, or playing legendary co-op with a buddy hunting for skulls and Easter eggs. It's getting into a 1v1 shouting match with some random guy after I teabagged him. And if you don't get any of that, that's alright. The point is, there's a million different ways you can play Halo, from pro tournaments, ranked and social games, big team battle, crazy custom game modes like Jenga, Duck Hunt, and countless others. You can play Firefight, the campaign. If you really hate yourself, you can do it on Lasso. You can speedrun it. People made entirely new maps in Forge and created movies and skits in theater mode. The list is endless. The game gives you a sandbox, but you decide how you want to play. And this applies everywhere in life. Often we think there are mandatory rules we have to follow, or predetermined paths we must take, but usually these rules are more flexible than we realize. For instance, most businesses follow established models in established industries, but the biggest successes often come from people who ignored the rules entirely. Airbnb ignored the rules of the hotel industry. Netflix ignored the rules of video rental. Tesla ignored the rules of automotive manufacturing. Or look at education. Formal schooling follows a very fixed path, but you can learn anything online now. oftentimes faster than traditional methods. You can specialize deeply or learn broadly. You can just follow your interests and passions and see where that leads you. The deeper insight is this: just as you should try to have fun with games, that's their purpose after all, you should try to design a life that serves you. That doesn't mean being selfish or irresponsible or avoiding things that are necessary. It means recognizing that many of the rules you think are mandatory are actually optional. The strategic question is, what rules am I following that might not actually be rules? How could I play this game differently? Alright, if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss out on future uploads. The beautiful thing about mental models is that they're everywhere, hiding in plain sight in the games we play, the books we read, interactions people have. So go ahead and start building your own collection of mental models. And tell me, which frameworks do you use and how? Let me know in the comments. And if you've been making good decisions already, but struggling with follow-through, then check out the previous video to learn how I went from terrible execution to building habits on autopilot. Alright, see you guys on the next one.